setting your berries and everything. Did you ever have thoughts or fantasies of someone around that age before you moved in, before you were with the victim?
No, I think it was all triggered the first time she sat on my lap.
Good morning to you, sir. You're Mr. Thomas Miles.
Yes, good morning.
And Mr. Miles, your NGOC number for the record, 112-1512.
That's correct.
Thank you. I'm Commissioner Jackson. With me today is Commissioner Weisenthal and Commissioner Baker.
Good morning.
Good morning. And we are a panel seeing you today for parole consideration and the discretionary guidelines on your 10 to life sentence for lewdness with a minor. That case number is CR 14-0329, count 1. You are parole eligible January 7th, 2024. A caseworker, Samerjohn, do you see that same sentence structure? Do you see any holds or detainers?
Yes, ma'am, I do see that, and I do not see any holds or detainers at this time.
Thank you. And Mr. Miles, about a month ago, you received notice of this hearing and advisement of rights. I do have that document here that I'm looking at. It was acknowledged on the 19th, and it looks like it was witnessed as well. Do you recall doing so?
Yes, ma'am.
So that just indicates to our panel that you've been properly noticed and we can continue. I'd like you to know that your family is here, your brother and sister and brother-in-law are here. And your brother, I think, at the conclusion, excuse me, at the conclusion of the hearing is going to make a statement today. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Is there a statement that you might like to make today?
Yes, if I may.
Absolutely.
I just want
Go
to
ahead.
First, good morning, and thank you for your time today. We had a relapse prevention class for sex offenders, and at the end of the class, I had a letter that we had to write to ourselves, and I'd like to share that with you.
Absolutely.
I believe it'll bring some insight. I molested an 8-year-old girl. It's a simple statement that carries a huge weight. It draws out negative emotions from anyone who hears those words. Disgust, anger, panic, shock, sorrow, and shame, just to name several. These emotions don't take turns either. They overwhelmingly flood in all at once, and then some take up permanent residence. How could you? Why would you? What were you thinking? All good questions asking the same thing. Why? The answer has changed throughout the years based on what I've learned about myself and how honest I am with myself. Early on, I would have claimed it was a perfect storm of situations, a fluke that would never happen again. I know now that I don't have a natural age limit with whom I'm attracted to. I have to set my own limitations. I didn't recognize a seemingly unimportant decision and moved in with a family. I put myself and others in a risky situation because I didn't set up boundaries for personal space. I began fantasizing about Angel, my victim. I didn't tell anyone about the fantasy because I thought I could handle it on my own. So I stayed in a risky situation. More fantasies came, but I rationalized that since they're just fantasies, it was okay. Then, in an attempt to fulfill my desires for intimacy and sexual excitement, I gave up and allowed Angel to come into my room with the door closed. Then I molested an 8-year-old girl. The turning point for me was when my victim's mother asked me about what I had done. The look of disgust and betrayal, and later the sounds of her retching in the bathroom, will always be the biggest deterrent for me. It was the point when my fantasy ended and reality hit hard. I can only imagine how confused and scared I made my victim feel. It was a terrible burden I put on her. And I say victim in regards to the one I directly offended, but in reality, the whole family was a victim. I was a very close friend and an honorary brother to the parents and an honorary uncle to the kids. The trust and social issues I have caused them are inexcusable. Not only did my actions affect their family, but I brought embarrassment, shame, sadness, and anxiety to my family as well. While in county jail, I was able to think of just over 300 people who would react to what I've done, from close friends and family to other friends, coworkers, clients, teachers, to anyone I've worked with or knew in the past that would have remembered me fondly. And the further away from me and the family I hurt, the weaker the emotional levels become, but I can see the reactions in my mind, and it's not pretty. There's nothing I can say or do that will undo the hurt I've caused. I must now focus on bettering myself for the future. While in prison, I was able to attend a sexual compulsives anonymous group for 5 years, and more recently, a relapse prevention class for sex offenders. SCA showed me the importance of having a group of people to share openly with, and I've learned from their mistakes in life as well as my own. It also introduced to me concepts like HALT, never to be too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, triggers, and showed how I rationalized and minimized my actions. Our PSO really opened up my eyes about myself, where my self-esteem comes from, and how that affects my behavior. It delved deeper into thinking errors, dissected my offense using the offense chain, showed what desires I have in life and how to positively meet them, how to change my self-talk to change my outlook on situations, that thoughts lead to emotions, which lead to actions, how and when to avoid or escape at any point in my offense chain, and allowed me to develop written plans to handle sexual urges and depression. These are the experiences and tools I will use now and in the future to ensure I never create another victim. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morales. Very well written. Those are questions we ask inmates all the time, and they have no answers at all for us. So I want to tell you, I really appreciate what you've written, because it sounds like you have some great insight on why you did what you did, just by virtue of what you said. So thank you. So let's take a look at your risk assessment. That's an objective document. It helps to guide our deliberation. It is important, it is accurate, and I do want to go over it with you factor by factor. Your age at first arrest was 31 years of age. You've had no revocations of supervision. You were employed in the 12 months prior to being arrested. You have no property convictions in your criminal history. Some experimental use of marijuana when you were a lot younger, and no prior felony convictions. You are 40 years of age, almost 41. You're not a member of a gang. You've done a lot of really good programs over the years. Appreciate that. You have no write-ups as to your credit, and you're in medium custody at Lovelock. You're scoring a -1 on the risk assessment instrument, which is low risk. The offense severity of lewdness with the minor is highest, and the guideline recommendation is for the board to consider factors. So factors we do consider, obviously, you did address a victim impact. The victim was molested, which you did state, and the victim was vulnerable as she was a minor. Mitigating factors, you've got great support in the community, you've got good support with your family here. You have a stable release plans, which means you have a residence and you have a job. You've programmed over the years, and this is your only conviction of record. I also want you to know that we do have the results of the static 99, which is a sex offender evaluation, and that scores you a average risk to reoffend. So, we don't want any other victims. I'm sure you don't want any other victims. And I'm just wondering what are you going to do to prevent that specifically? Continue counseling, hoping.
Yes, counseling would be in the future, but also I know myself better now. I know that the chance to reoffend will never be a 0% chance, and I'm vigilant in that. I'm a very strong believer in the avoiding and escaping situations. I'm not one that seeks a victim, but I just won't put myself in situations like that. I am happy to report that we have a new church service out there for ex-felons, so I have a church family when I get out there. And I don't know if anyone's been into a church service, but my experience here is that they'll keep you busy. I'm with that and work. I tend to identify with my job and stay home and within the church community. I think that'll be my circle.
Good. So. Okay. And you don't have a substance abuse issue, so that's not going to be an issue. You're a young man. I mean, you really are. You can make, you've made some good changes, I think, already while you've been incarcerated. You can make even better changes and choices when you're out in the community. So I don't really have any other questions, Commissioner Weisenthal?
Yeah, just a quick question. You were talking about putting up your barriers and sorry, I can't hear that. Your barriers and, setting your barriers and everything. Did you ever have thoughts or fantasies of someone around that age before you moved in, before you were with the victim?
No, I think it was all triggered the first time she sat on my lap. The first lapse or fantasy I had was her butt felt soft, and that triggered further fantasies that dwelled and grew from there. Before then, I had no experience with that.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Baker?
I have no additional questions. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'm going to call Tim up here. You're going to make a statement today. Thank you for your correspondence.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody, for writing this support. You've got a lot of support
me
out
up.
there in the community.
Yeah, wait a second.
Yeah. Just state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Tim Miles, the brother of Thomas Miles. Good morning, members of the Nevada Parole Board. I stand before you as the brother of Thomas Miles, who, as you are aware, has been incarcerated for the past decade. The weight of a brother's heart, carrying both pain from the past and hope for the future, is immense. Today, I wish to share a brief glimpse into that heart. 10 years is a long time. It's not long enough to see profound changes in a person, and Thomas is no exception. While many see prison as an end, for Thomas it became a beginning to self-improvement, redemption, and service. Thomas chose baptism during his time incarcerated, a step that symbolizes not just religious faith, but personal transformation. I've seen him mature, evolve in his spiritual journey, attend chapel services, and drawing strength from them. His commitment to education shines through as well. He successfully completed a course in Microsoft Office, which may seem simple to some, but to a brother, it's a sign of dedication and will prepare for life outside. More than just acquiring skills for himself, he became an ESL tutor for 5 years, using his knowledge to uplift and aid fellow inmates. This speaks volumes not only to his growth, but to his character. But perhaps the most telling sign of his dedication to a brighter future is the participation in relapse prevention programs. It's a promise to himself and to us, his family, and that he is committed to avoiding mistakes. Outside these walls, there is hope and a clear path for Thomas. He has secured position with Sierra Miles Group, a company that's willing to invest in him, to believe in his capacity for change. We see the potential for him to be a positive, contributing member of society. I urge you to see the man Thomas has become, not just the mistakes of the man he once was. The journey of redemption is long and challenging, and he has traversed it with determination. Our family is ready to support him every step of the way to ensure that his next chapter is one of purpose, contribution, and growth. Thank you for listening, for considering the life Thomas has built over the past decade and the possibility of a future where he can share his growth with the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your correspondence. It's appreciated. And Mr. Thomas Miles, I just hope you know how fortunate you are. I mean, we see inmates every day with they have no family, nobody to represent them. So you're a fortunate individual, and I hope you're grateful.
I'm very grateful.
Is there anything else you might like to say today?
Again, just thank you for your time. I know this is the extent of, the continuing ripple effect is affecting your lives from my action 10 years ago. So.
Well, you are very welcome. We are going to deliberate on your case today and give a recommendation to the full board. It will take a majority vote to grant or deny parole. An order will be forwarded to your caseworker. You should have results probably 2 to 3 weeks. And we thank your family for coming today. And thank you. Thank you for your statement.
Yeah, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Take care.